there, welcome or welcome back to Oops, I Planted Again. My name is Courtney and today I'm going to do an entire philodendron collection video. It has been a year since the last time I did a collection video for my philodendrons, and it's also been a while since I've talked face to face to you on YouTube. And we're just going to dive right in, and I'm going to talk a little bit about care for each plant in my conditions and how I take care of it. But if there's a specific plant that you want me to do a dedicated video about how I care for it and some helpful tips, let me know in the comments below. But let's get started. The first and probably my favorite is Heartleaf Philodendron Lemon Lime. I don't think I featured this one in my video last year because I think I got it last fall. I think I got it last fall from a local nursery. And to me, this is like a common plant that I don't see that often. And I was so excited. I just walked into this nursery one day and I saw it and I bought it, and there was only two. I wish I would have bought the other one because I have not seen it since. I've never propagated this plant either. And if you've watched my videos, you know I love propagating, but I have never propagated this plant. Look, we have a dead leaf. But this plant has been no trouble for me. I've never had a problem with this plant. I water it maybe every 2 weeks. And I'll give it a shower every once in a while, but I will say that my dog just walked into the room. Hello, sir. Come on. Come on, sit down in your bed. Go ahead. You okay? Go ahead. All right. So my house has higher humidity than average. It's about 56%. I actually checked it on a TikTok video because somebody asked me. And so I think that helps a lot with my plants and the conditions I have my plants in. This one was near a grow light pretty much the entire time that I've gotten it, since I've had it. And I've moved it recently onto its own like little shelf I got from IKEA, and I might put it in the video because I think it was like $10 or $12, and it kind of just sits in the corner. It's still near a grow light, but not as direct. And I literally have had no trouble. I think I've had a couple of leaves die off, but this is probably my favorite. I just think it's so easy and it's just so beautiful and rewarding. The color, the leaf shape, the care. I just love this plant. Next, oh gosh, this is very rickety and I need to update the poll. But this is a Philodendron Bippinifolium. Is it on the camera? Yeah, okay. Philodendron Bippinifolium Oreo. I got this in Austin locally last year. This was the first expensive plant that I bought. I think it was about $75. So that was like insane to me. I think the most now that I've spent on a single plant has been $125 on my Monstera albo. But this was like my first expensive plant. So what I will say is I ended up chopping this plant up because it was growing very weird, and I've noticed the new leaves that have come out since I cut it. You can see, is that fuzzy? Right there is where I cut it, and I had two pieces and I still have those other two pieces, but the Oreo comes out, like this new leaf, it's gonna come out Oreo, but then it reverts very quickly. This one in particular, I really don't have in super amazing lighting conditions. It sits in my room and I don't have the best light in there. I do have a grow light, but this one isn't really near it. So I think that has something to do with it. Also, the other two that I do have that I did chop, their Oreo has stayed compared to this one. I'm not gonna change the location because it's still growing and it's comfortable. And you know, it is what it is. Would I recommend you get this? I think you could pass on this one. Honestly, it's okay. And I think once I get it on a better pole, it'll grow big and beautiful. But I think this is something that you can just like, you know, take it or leave it. This isn't something that I would recommend like, oh my gosh, this is like, I love this plant, but it's cool. And you know, if you want it, get it. This is my Philodendron Domesticum. I don't see a lot of people talk about this. I've seen people talk about the variegated one, but this is just the classic one. This was also one of the first like fancier plants that I got in my collection. I think it was last summer. It was last summer because I did film a couple of videos with this plant because it died off. It was dying off. I ended up chopping it and propping it, and I have two of the pieces, the two pieces that I cut off, and then this basically died off to the nub. You can see that right there. It was literally just this, and I don't know, I just felt like it was gonna grow. I don't know why I had faith in this plant that it was gonna grow back, but I'm glad that I did. And I basically just treated it like a regular plant. I would water it every 1 to 2 weeks. I will say I have never repotted it. This is the original mix that I got the plant in, and it's very, what's the word? It's a very chunky mix. So I do have to water it a lot more often. You can tell right now it's kind of droopy because I need to water it, but I also need to put it on a proper pole. I just kind of threw this one on there because it's what I had, but I want to give basically all of my really tall plants that are growing, I think I want to transition them into moss poles. I wasn't really a big fan of moss poles that much, but I think I want to get into them. I think they're gonna be good for some of the plants that I have. And now that I kind of know where I want my plants and where they're housed, I think it'll be easier to maintain. That's why I didn't really like moss poles to begin with. It was just hard to maintain, but I also was making them crappy. So I think I'm gonna actually buy some, and this one and a couple other philodendrons that I have are gonna go on moss poles, and I'll probably make a whole entire video about that. But yeah, this one is like my comeback plant. Like, this one came back and I'm so happy about it. And this one is in my bedroom. It's by my window, which is a south facing window, and I water it, like I said, about every week. The other two pieces that I have, one is in soil, the other one is in soil, and that one is in my grow tent. So they're all growing really well, but they do grow up, so I need to make sure they all have some type of support, or I think they're just gonna be really gangly and weird. Next up is one that I desperately need to water, and I will water it after this video. Heartleaf Philodendron Brazil. I don't know the order that you say that in, but Philodendron Brazil is classic. It's easy to care for. I have propagated this plant 1,000 times, and it honestly should be longer for how long I've had it. I've had this for like, I don't know, a long time, like more than maybe 1.5 to 2 years. It should really be longer in my opinion, but I've propagated it so much. I will say the top has become fuller, which is nice, but it has been drying out a lot. It most likely needs a repot, a refresh, but I'm probably not going to do that because, you know, I just throw it in the shower, water it, and it just hangs in my bedroom, and I just think it's really easy. This is one plant that I feel like everybody loves. Like, you can't hate this plant. It's so easy. All of the Heartleaf philodendrons are easy in my opinion, and I think they're just like classic timeless plants that, you know, I think are worth it. Look at that dead leaf. That's all right. I need to water this desperately. Oh. Here we have the Philodendron micans. This is probably in my top 5 as well. I think it's a really good plant to have in your collection. I feel like it gives you your bang for your buck. Is that how you do the saying? I don't know. But the leaves are velvety. It's pretty. And this was like a bunch of cuttings that I had combined. They grow, I've grown them in water, moss, soil, leca. All of them have been excellent. Really easy to care for plant. But yeah, like I said, I just combined all of these cuttings probably in the last month. So I'm excited to see it get really bushy and full. I do want to stake up some micans, and I think I have some cuttings buried somewhere in a prop box somewhere that I'll probably experiment with pulling them up. But this one I'm just gonna leave like this because I really like how full it looks. I like the look of the leaves, and I just think this is like such a beautiful plant. If I say every plant is beautiful, it's because I mean it. The next two plants I'm gonna show you, they're not giving. And you know, I've neglected them, and that's on me. But also, I don't know, they're just like, I don't know. So Philodendron Rio, I bought this cutting, I think it was like 15 or 20 bucks last year. I'm pretty sure I filmed a video with this last year, and you know, this is all it's done. And you know, that's on me. It's been in moss, but I've neglected it, and it really needs to either be in a different medium, or I need to put it somewhere where I can really watch it and take care of it. Honestly, I could put it in like one of my little pots that I've made that are in my store, and maybe leca would probably be better, just because I feel like it's easier to maintain. Like this moss, you can hear it. It's so dried out. I've just neglected this plant, but you know, we're gonna change our ways for this one. Next, I have the Philodendron sodiroi. Now this one is not good. I actually have another one that looks better, but this one in particular was just one cutting that I got last summer, and you know, it's kind of just been on and off. It's just ugly. I'm sorry, this is ugly, but I did redeem myself, and I'm gonna show you my nice one that I have in leca. I had to pull it out of its container, but this is my really pretty one. This was the original import leaf. Basically, a lot of the plants that I've imported in the last year, the original leaves look like crap. They just die off completely, and then it starts to regrow. So that kind of process is a little bit overwhelming at first, but once you do it once, you kind of get used to it. So this is the original leaf. It came with a couple, but you know, we don't need to look at that one, but this is the newest leaf, or that was a new leaf. This is a new leaf, and this is the newest leaf. So this one I have in leca. And I did a video on leca last year, but I'll probably do an updated video in the next couple of weeks, because I have a lot of plants in leca just like this, but then the reservoir is just a big plastic container. So I basically don't have to fill up 100 leca containers. I can just fill up the big reservoir, and then that helps me maintain the moisture that the plants need, and it's just way easier. But this sodiroi is way cuter. Next, we have the Philodendron Florida Ghost. I've talked about this plant before. I love it. This is one that I have in my shop. It'll be linked below. And then I have another one. It's across the room. That one I got in a trade, and it has a couple leaves, but that one definitely needs a pull. That one's in soil. This one is in leca. I prefer them in leca or moss. I just think they grow really, really fast. And I think this is the one plant that if you get, you're going to be happy with. I think they're really easy to care for. And I just think they look so freaking cool. Like the look of the plant, like that is just, it's giving. Next, we have the Philodendron Squamiferum. This is one of my first imports. I've propagated it a couple of times, and I think it's really easy. This just lives in moss. This is a support pole that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I cut in half. And you know, this plant has been chilling. These are the original leaves at the bottom. They're kind of funky, but it's cute. It kind of gives. I really like the little, what is it called? The stem of this plant. The stem of this plant. But yeah, I like this plant. I think it's easy. It grows in moss in my conditions. The other ones, I think I propagated them in moss. I prefer moss for a lot of the plants that I'm growing in my grow tent. I just think it's a lot easier to maintain. And for me, maintaining plants is like my number one thing. Like if it's easy, then I'm good. If it's difficult, then I'm annoyed that I have to do it. But yeah, I really like moss or leca. Those are probably my favorite mediums to grow in. I just think it's just the easiest thing. You know what I'm saying? Next up, Philodendron Paraiso Verde. I have a lot of these, but this is just the one that I pulled out. Are you okay, honey? It's my dog. I think once I actually propagated this plant, that's when my growth exploded for me. Because before, when I got this locally from somebody. I don't know, it just was growing really weird. The growth pattern was just really off, but once I chopped it up, I had so many pieces and all of them have grown well. It's like they just did not want to grow the original way that they were growing. But yeah, another one that's in moss. Now this one I have in a double container. That's because this one used to sit like in my window, but now that it's in the grow tent, it doesn't really need it, but I just kind of keep it. So I fill it up usually with water to this bottom layer, and then the roots can just suck up the water, and it's pretty easy. And there is the newest leaf right there, but I need to like put it back. But it's like I could also put it on a moss pole. So I should probably just do that. Next up, Philodendron Melanochrysum. This is probably one of my favorite plants. Not this one in particular, because this is one that I imported and like this leaf is gorgeous and then it's like, it's farts. But you know, I've had these multiple times in the last year and I love them. I think they are so easy to grow. But the ones that I got before I got locally, and this one I imported on my own. So I'm having to, you know, get through that process of importing plants and they die off and you're propagating and blah 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 blah. But in general, I really love the Philodendron Melanochrysum. It's definitely a plant that I would recommend. I think it's definitely worth it, and I'm probably gonna change this pole. The only reason I'm using these is because I bought so many because I was so excited when they came out. I think it was earlier this year or the end of last year, and you know, I have them and I haven't made any moss poles and I don't really feel like making them. I would rather buy them from one of my planty friends because I don't feel like making them. So I need to do that. But in general, I really like the Philodendron Melanochrysum. This one is in my grow tent and it's in moss and perlite. A lot of the plants, pretty much, I think all of my plants that have moss are moss and perlite, some kind of combination like that. But hopefully we can get these leaves, you know, this big eventually, but it's growing, so let me not bitch. Next up, Philodendron Campo. This one, I have a ton of these. I have a ton of cuttings of these. I had one big one. The growth pattern was weird, so once it's weird, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna chop you up, and now I have like 10 of these. I've had some in the shop and I'll probably put some more in the shop. It has velvety leaves. Maybe it's like velvet shine. I don't know how to describe it. Kind of like I would say it's like a mix between a Philodendron micans and a Melanochrysum. And you know, I just think it's really easy. It's really cute. And all of these have grown in moss. I definitely prefer growing the majority of my plants in moss or leca. I just think it's easier to maintain. Next up, Philodendron Bippinifolium. So I showed you the Bippinifolium Oreo. This is just the regular one. This is one of the first rare plants that I got. I think this was last year. And it was just one that I never seen. And it was really cute, but then it got really ugly. So I chopped it up. Like I said, if it's being weird, I will chop it up. But now I have a bunch of these pieces and it's really cute. I like it. I think it's a classic green philodendron. It's not something I think you need, but like if you saw it, I'd be like, you can buy it. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, it's cool. But you don't like, it's not something where I'd be like, oh my God, this is like the coolest plant ever, blah, 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 blah. But it's cute. It gives a little bit. I wouldn't ignore it, but I wouldn't be super hyped for it. Next we have Philodendron Burle Marx Fantasy. I have 3 of these. I actually had one plant and it was growing really well, and then I put it in a soil mixture from Miracle-Gro. It was like their tropical plant grow and it's terrible. Don't buy it. It literally ruined a lot of my plants. What I could do was chop and prop, and that's what I did, but these have grown pretty well, so I'm either gonna put them in moss or leca, probably leca, maybe moss. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I want them to grow bigger. I really like these plants, and the really big versions of these are so gorgeous. I think I did a video about, I forget what it was, but I'll try to find it and link it above, about the mature version of these, and OMG, I love it. But yeah, I need to obviously pop these up because they've just been growing in these little glass jars. Next up, Philodendron Silver Sword. This is my Philodendron Silver Sword, and then I have 2 other ones that I imported, and I think this is a really great plant. I think it's really easy to propagate. A lot of plants are easy to propagate, but this one surprised me because I grew this from a cutting and I was just like, holy crap, this is really growing. It looks really janky right now because this piece, I ended up having to chop it again because it got spider mites, and I don't even know how. I mean, how do you ever know how they come? I don't know. But I had to chop it again. And so this is literally just rooting. Like I chopped this sometime this summer, and I have it in this contraption. So this is a pot, like a regular little 4-inch plastic pot with moss in it, and obviously the stake. And then I have a cup, just like a regular plastic cup with leca in the bottom. And then I just basically keep this filled up. I keep it filled up. That doesn't sound right. I don't know. But I basically just fill it up with water. And yeah, I actually feel like this is not high enough. I think I need to refill the water. But anyways, I like contraptions like this. I try to think of ways that I can make my life easier when it comes to plants. But anyways, I just put this in this summer, and I think you can see it. Yeah, I think if I get that close, can you see that little thing? That's the root. So this is like fresh root, which is like insane. It grows really, really fast. This is definitely a plant that I would not pass up. I just think they're really cute and they're really easy to grow. Obviously, y'all know I need to get new poles. You know, I need to do the pole thing. But here's my one thing about getting more moss poles is they take up space height-wise, right? So a lot of plants like this one are in my grow tent, and I would probably either need to reconfigure my shelves or just put a smaller shelf in there for all of the plants that I'm gonna put on moss poles, which is definitely doable and I can probably do it. But I'll probably wait for another month at least, because it's 1,000 degrees and that's just a lot of work, and you know, I'll do it later. But everything is growing, so I'm not gonna keep complaining about it. The plants that I'm going to show you next, I actually have 5 of them in total right now. The 2 that I'm going to show you are the ones that I have in my shop, but they are the Philodendron gloriosum. I mean, these plants are a total banger. That's why I have so many of them. I just think they're so easy. I have them in leca, moss, and soil. Yeah, and soil. So this one is the original leaf, so I'm gonna have to cut that off later, but that is the only leaf that was here for a long time. I will say importing these plants is a nightmare. Philodendrons are the worst to import in my experience. They just do not travel well at all. And I have imported Philodendron gloriosum, Melanochrysum, my Squamiferum was okay, my billietiae, that one is great, and Florida Ghost, that one is like all right, but a lot of them are really, really bad. But the Philodendron gloriosum import, a nightmare. But anyways, this plant is definitely worth it in my opinion. I just think it's so cute, and I've like, once they get really huge, like I'm trying to grow mine really, really huge. I have to repot my other ones because the pots, they're already outgrowing the pots. But I just love them. So these ones are in my grow tent. My other one is in my bedroom, the one that I have in leca. I have a little tiny nub of one in my grow tent, and then I have another one in soil downstairs, and that one is in one of my oblong pots that are in my shop. But it's already outgrown it, and I need to repot it into a bigger, longer pot. And I think I'm gonna keep it in soil because, you know, we gotta experiment with our plants. But Philodendron gloriosum is definitely top 5. Here we have my Heartleaf philodendron, the classic green one. It's still going. It's very long. This one I've propagated a couple of times, but in general, I think, you know, it's growing. This plant is now under grow light. Before it wasn't, but now it is, so I think that's helping a lot with its growth. And this one isn't as bushy at the top as my other Heartleaf philodendrons, but this one is the longest one that I have. It is getting like smaller as we go, but it's growing. This one is a classic. I mean, it's just one that I wouldn't turn this plant down. Like any size, I have smaller ones. I have so many of this one. I wouldn't turn this plant down. I just think it's just so beautiful. And like when the new leaf comes in, like, come on, that's so cute. Is this gonna be clear? Oh my God. Yeah, so this one I love. And my best friend has one of these that she got from the shop, and she loves it. She's just like, what the heck? Like, it's just growing so fast. It's already like grown past the pot that she got it in. And I just love this one. Like, this is a plant that I would gift somebody. and I just know they would love it. Next up, we have the Philodendron giganteum. Now, I have two of these. They were one plant together when I first got it. Obviously, it was not this big, not even close. I got this from a local nursery, and you don't like understand. I know the name is giganteum, but it's like, this takes up the entire screen. And these are so easy to care for. I say that about a lot of plants, but that's really important to me when it comes to plant care. But also I will say these are just sitting in my living room. They're not really super close to any grow lights. I water them once a week. They're extra thirsty because it's the summertime, but they've been growing really quickly. I would say at least one new leaf, maybe every 3-4 weeks during the summer, because it was really slow when I first got it, but since I separated them, I feel like it's growing a lot quicker. So this is a new leaf since I bought it. This one, and I think that one. So that's 4, and this one I think is about 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they both have new leaves coming in at the top. Like I said, they just sit in my living room. They're really chill. And I think this plant would be worth it just because of how big they can get. If you Google it, I'm going to say Google it, but I'm going to insert a picture of like a fully big one to show you the size. I think it's worth it. This plant I got for $29 at a local nursery in Austin. And you know, I think it's worth it. I think it's a good bang for your buck. I really have to look up that saying so that I'm saying it correctly. But yes, Philodendron giganteum. Next up, girl, this is a monstera. Next up, this is, I would probably say maybe this is number 2. Between this and my Heartleaf philodendron, the billietiae is, I mean, just a banger. Like, this plant is a straight banger. So I have 3 of these. This is the latest one that I bought. This one is an import. Yes, 2 of them I imported, 1 I got locally. The first one that I got locally, and I'll show you that one in a second. It has a really weird growth pattern. I have not propagated it yet. I don't know why. I'm just gonna see what happens with it, but this one is my biggest one, and this one is in an IKEA glass container. If you like growing your plants in this type of method, IKEA is literally the place to get really cheap plant pots and glass container. I think this one is it was $10, and this is actually pink. You can't really tell, but it's like a light pink. And for this specific mixture, the bottom I have leca and perlite, and then the top part I have moss. And yeah, I just keep it filled up pretty much like right to the top of the moss. And I mean, this one's easy breezy. Like, and it's huge. I love this plant. It's so cute. But I'm going to show you the other 2 that I have. One is in the shop, and then the other one is the one with the weird growth pattern. This is the first Philodendron billietiae that I got. So when I first got it, it was this leaf and then these 2. And that was it. I just got it in water as a cutting. I ended up keeping it in water for a while, then transferred it to leca. And now these are what all the other leaves have grown into. I have no support, no stake on this. I don't really know what I want to do. I kind of feel like I should prop it, obviously. I mean, the aerial roots are going crazy, but it's growing. So I'm just like, let me just keep it really funky and weird. I may honestly just repot it in a way with like a moss pole, since it's growing that way. But we'll see. I really like this plant. I definitely think it's worth it. And I'll show you the little one. This is the one that I have in the shop right now. This is the little one that is in the shop, and it has something new. This is the newest leaf that's came in, but I'm growing this one in leca, the other one in leca, and then the other one is in a leca moss mixture. I've never had these in soil. It's not that I don't want to, but like I've been saying this whole video, I choose mediums that I think are the easiest to maintain. And I have this in one of those big reservoirs that I talked about earlier in the video. And it's easy breezy. I really love this plant. I like the unique shape of it, and I like how it grows, and I just think it's worth it. I think this plant is worth it in my opinion. and you know, it's not going to disappoint. Now, I did talk earlier about plants that are challenging to import, not impossible, but you know, they'll die off. But the Philodendron billietiae literally was not bad at all. The other philodendrons, some of them I have, were not good, but this one was a really easy plant to import, and it has grown new leaves, and I love it. This one, I almost forgot. It's literally sitting in my window. I think it's a Philodendron Sharon. I'm gonna put the name on the screen. Sharon. It starts with an S. I know what the name is, I just can't pronounce it. This one is really funky. I've had it for a while, and you know, it's really funky. It's in leca. Honestly, it has dried out more times than I'd like to admit. Just because it kind of sits in my window and I don't really pay attention to it. I will probably propagate this. Is that a freaking... Oh, cool. It has spider mites. Oh, cool. Well, at least it's isolated. So what I'm going to do, it's a great example for the video. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to clean up the spider mites. I will probably just chop it right now. Well, today, this week. I will do it though. I will do it and I will make a video. I'm going to chop this and I'm going to clean it with a treatment, and I will probably dunk it instead of just spraying it off because I'm going to cut it and it's small. And I'm going to sanitize this leca, but I'm still going to use the same leca, but I'm going to sanitize it, and then I'm just going to shove it back in there, and I'm going to sanitize everything and make it clean. And yeah, I will make a video on this so you can hold me accountable for this plant. I forgot I had two plants outside. This one is my Philodendron Birkin. Super easy. I water the plants that I have outside about every other day. And then the other plant is my Philodendron Hope. I have two of these outside. They've been outside all summer and they've been loving it. And that is my entire philodendron collection. Philodendrons are the type of plant that I have the most of. I think they're really easy and I think they're really rewarding, and you just have to find one that you like and that you vibe with. There are philodendrons that I had last year that I don't have, either because they died or I just couldn't take care of them in that way, or I just wasn't paying attention to them in certain ways. Ones that I had that I remember that I do not have anymore that I had the most trouble with was the Philodendron Brantianum and the Philodendron Verrucosum. Those two I've had more than once, both of them, and I've had a lot of trouble with both of them, just consistently getting spider mites, and their growth was just really freaking funky. But I will probably get them again just because I do like the way that they look. And I will say I will probably put them in different mediums. I think they were both in soil, so I will probably put them in a leca or moss perlite mixture, and hopefully that'll help me grow those plants properly. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.